Hi there, I'm Andrew, and let's take a quick look at how to use the Ray Optics Simulator. There's a few sticky points, so that's the meaning of this help video. So on Moodle, I'm going to go ahead and click on the Ray Optics Simulator. It brings you to here. I'm going to go ahead and hit Launch Simulator. Now, you might not see all these buttons. I'm actually going to make it just a little smaller, just like that. Oh, wait, just a little bit more, like that, so that you can see this gear on the side. Now this gear is important because we're going to need to turn on the grid, and then we're going to need to turn on and off snap to grid a lot. Now to get those buttons regularly, I can actually hold the control button and scroll, and now I have that snap to grid on. I'm also going to turn on the grid, and now my grid's just a little bit small, so I'm going to click on the settings and make it just a little bit bigger. Instead of 20, let's do 25, or let's see, 50. 50 is a little too big. It might be okay, but I'm going to do maybe 30. That looks good for me. Okay, so we're going to start by drawing a little mirror segment, which will represent our mirror, but notice right now it doesn't really matter where I'm drawing it because it's not locked or snapped to grid. So I'm going to click on it again, and this side I'm going to drag this side out so it's snapped to a grid, and same thing over here. I'm going to draw another little mirror segment which will represent my candle, and notice if I'm not on one of the ends I can drag it up and down just a little bit. Okay, we're going to need a couple protractors. One we're going to need for a little eyeball over here, and then I'm going to just draw another protractor over here. If you accidentally draw too many, you can just click on the last one you drew and click this delete, or you can hit the backspace or the delete button on the keyboard as well. Okay, so now we're up to this part. We can draw our first ray. So click on light source single ray, and with the snap to grid on, so it's kind of a darker gray, we're going to drag this point over to the top of the candle, or the top of the mirror segment that represents our candle. Then we're going to uncheck snap to grid, and we're going to come in and drag our ray around, and we got a lot more accuracy over to a spot where it's going to hit our simulated eyeball like we'd like it. One more thing about the protractor right here, let me click on it again. Right at the moment when I have snap to grid on, I can move the center to different center spots, and then I can also move that to different center spots. And then if I unsnap it, see how that little point right there where it connects is not in the middle, or sorry, not down one of the lines. So now I can move the center spot over there, but to move the center, I actually need to drag on the side right here, and I'm looking really close trying to drag center. One of the things I did when I was over here was when the grid was snapped, escape or backwards. When the grid was snapped, I made this 0 straight down so that it would be a normal to this mirror that I drew horizontal. So now I'm going to go back to unsnap it and drag it from the side and try to line it up as best as I can. Let it go and see that it's about 60 on both sides. I don't have it exactly lined up, so it's a little bit bigger on this side than that side. You'll draw another ray, another light source single ray, and the easiest way again is to draw it on the middle, and then you uncheck snap. Actually, sorry, you draw it in the middle, you drag the one side over. Right now I don't have snap to grid on, so snap to grid. Drag it to there, and then I uncheck the snap to grid, and I move it around to where I want it to hit the protractor, the simulated eyeball, in a different spot, and then I repeat the process, moving the protractor. Now we're going to change the view to extended rays. And if you notice right here, I drew mine just a little bit too high. So I'm going to hold down the control key and scroll the mouse, and then kind of like move the mouse up and scroll it again so I can have the buttons just right there ready. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit other and ruler, and I'm going to draw a ruler, but I wanted to really snap to grid again. So I can draw a nice vertical ruler. Snap that to grid, and now I'm going to unsnap it. Yeah, I'm actually going to snap it again because this little light source is poked right there. I'm not sure why the 0 is not lining. Oh, there we go. Now the 0 lines up. What was happening is it was clicking on that first point. So now I can make the side just a little longer. And I can see that I start at 0, and I just happen to draw it just right so it crosses at 150, and you can see it crosses again at 300. So now we get to the last part where we have to draw a piece of the mirror with glass. And so I'm going to go ahead and just click on one of my rays and click delete. I'm going to go ahead and click on this ruler, and I'm going to move it over to where it crosses. And I have snap to grid on, so I'm going to uncheck that and put it right there in the middle. That's good. I'm going to go ahead and turn on just normal rays. And so this is where the light ray would hit if there's no glass in the front. Now I'm going to go ahead to glass and use a polygon. Now, if I was to start my glass right here, it's going to select the mirror piece and edit the mirror piece, and I don't want that. Oh, once again, snap to grid. I want the mirror to start down below, and so I'm just going to click a point down below. I'm going to drag it over, and then I'm going to click it up, and then click another spot and down. And so this represents a thick piece of glass in front of the mirrored surface. It protects the mirror. And where I put the ruler is where the ray would have hit, but this thick piece of glass, it bends the light a little bit, reflects, and then bends it again as it's coming out. And I can do Control or Command Z and Control and Command Y a couple times to see how the piece of glass changed. Where the light ray came out and where it hit my eyeball. So it hit it right over here by about 85, and then Control Y, hit it down here about 45, but it's going to, or maybe 55. Well, anyways, it's going to be a little bit different of a spot. And that's it for this applet. Thanks for watching.